Today, we want to
Yeah.
take a moment and briefly express our shared sorrow and grief concerning the current events surrounding Palestine and Israel.
To the Palestinian, Arab, and Jewish diaspora and immigrants here in Canada, our hearts ache and grieve with you in this time. As uninvited guests on Turtle Island, we recognize the importance of elevating the voices and rights of Indigenous people when it comes to colonial superpowers oppressing and committing atrocities.
We also hold the loss of those killed in the current conflict, those captured by terrorist organizations, and those striving to survive in Gaza. Our only ask is that you take care of yourself in this time, embrace your communities of support, and remember that two immigrants on the podcast truly care and share this heartache with you.
I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Hostion Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I am an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian Salad.
Canadian Salad.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Today, we're not going to do our normal programming and talk about cultures and give you a quiz at the end.
Yeah. And we wanted to take a moment to pause because we know that in Canada, it's not just immigrants that are feeling this, like the whole world is feeling this, but we know that when you are in a new country and things are going on in other parts of the world, if they are from your home country, like the impact and the effect is so difficult. According to Stats Canada right now, that there are 46,000 Palestinians living in Canada. That's a lot of people. And we are a global family. We're all interconnected and interrelated. Like there's no capacity to step away and say this just doesn't affect me, because it does. The pain that we see happening is, well, we want to make it our pain so we know that other people don't have to carry it alone.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is definitely a pain that all of us understand because it's everywhere right now. That is in all major news, and the atrocity that is being committed and happening today is not anything that we can definitely look over and look past.
No. And
Yeah.
so we did want to take a moment to pause everything and just say that we're here and that we care. We don't want to center our voices on this conflict, and that's not what this podcast is about. It's more so recognizing that we do need spaces to reflect and to process, and for those of you out there to know that we are listening and that we are aware, and that more than anything right now we need community and we need one another.
We definitely need one another, because I understand in times like this, I have the privilege to feel powerless because we are not directly affected by the war. Not that we're living in any crumbling or living fear of dying. That's definitely a privilege we need to be aware of. But at the same time, we also need to acknowledge that a lot of us are feeling some sort of anxiety or distress because of what's happening. And for some of us, even because of the inaction of the government, or that we're feeling even more distress or even injustice in many ways. So I think it's important for us to pause, to acknowledge all these feelings, because if we want to fight this, if we all want to help this cause, we definitely have to have a sound mind to continue to fight and support this. Yes. So Andrea, do you want to share us how you're feing? Because part of dealing with distress and anxiety is acknowledging feelings. So now
all
is the
of
time
them.
to be vulnerable, to talk about how you feel.
Well, most of you can't see, but I do have a very large fluffy bunny in my lap. It is something that I use to bring myself comfort when I am in distress or I'm triggered by things. So I have been suffering with secondary PTSD, which is a condition where I relive other people's trauma, even though I haven't been through it. And it will come on when I'm giving my son a bath, if I'm making a cup of tea. It comes in very random moments. And so world conflicts like that, like what's happening now, really, really are difficult for me. I have to be really diligent on what images that I see. I mean, I stay informed. But I will say, Hoshin, I think I'm really, really angry. I'm really, really, I just want to kind of scream, stop. And I know that there's this loud vacuum that government officials, superpowers in our world will not listen to know that children are doing press releases begging for
Yes.
for food, for water, for their right to live. That what planet is this anymore? And coming from the States, I mean, there is just a lot of very vile, wicked, and evil rhetoric coming out of the leadership, coming out of Christian white nationalists, Christian supremacists. So I see it in my own communities that I've left back at home. And I see the silence and the complicit attitude that governments have here. And I'm angry. And I want to do more. And I know that it doesn't matter what I say, because the people who have been saying, please save us, please help us, no one's listening. So I think I'm really, really angry and just very, very sad at the same time.
I think a lot of us share that with you for sure.
Yeah.
I have to echo with that. I mean, not so much angry from my part specifically. I have this kind of hopelessness. I think that's one word, and this kind of complete desperation for humanity in some sense.
Yeah.
So the things like that happened before, like especially the irony for it is Israel is the one who committed this. All the Jews living there, they know what the Nazis had did to them, and then yes, they did not create camps in Palestine, but they are. Like they're doing the same thing, and this history repeat itself. The oppressed being the oppressor right now, and they're committing what they have been through to other people, which is so ironic, and just this kind of humanity.
We're not
gonna get into, because the situation is very complex, and we are definitely not trying to jam in all that complicated history and power dynamics and international political relationships into this 30 minutes episode. With more focus on what we can do and what we're all feeling, and how we can take care of ourselves so we can continue to support Palestinians and help to cease fire on this situation.
Yeah. So hopelessness. Is there anything else you're feeling, Hoshin?
It's funny because we always think as a human thing, we're this kind of amazing creature walk on this earth with so much wisdom, with this so-called brain on in our head, and then with the things we did is way more crude than any so-called beasts can commit. I sometimes just feel cold. I would say feel so cold. Like ice running in my body as a human. That's so-called human. That's someone like me, for example, in Israel or even in the States or in Canada too, that's sitting on this place of power. They would prefer to just, okay, you can die. Everyone can die. Children can die. A newborn can die on a hospital. I don't mind. I would just go home and have my meal, drive my car like nothing happened. So I definitely feel this kind of coldness. Definitely.
It almost maybe feelings of being numb, because I looked up, there's right now 32 conflicts right now globally, according to the Global Citizens Facts. And there's been some other websites, and we'll link everything that we're going to talk about, because there's a lot of resources we're going to link up.
Exactly.
But what you said, that numbness and that feeling like ice, I mean, that is something that many people living in Canada have felt with the ongoing situation in
Ukraine,
Afghanistan, Ukraine,
Ukraine,
Yemen, the Rohingya, right? There's parts of Africa where there's just,
Congo.
yes, Yemen.
Yeah.
Yes, there's 32 conflicts right now, and this is something that everyone holds in their bodies, and yet they're expected to just go to work and, just kind of like a wind-up monkey toy, just kind of keep doing your thing, and operate as though life is normal. And so I just want to echo that your feelings, I can only imagine, are shared by so many who have that connection to all these conflicts globally.
Yeah. So that's one another thing. Oh my God, is there anything we can do? And
Yeah.
people in power actually said, you know what? I'm just gonna sit tight. That is just something that baffles me that
Yeah.
I can never,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I know.
yeah.
I know. Hoshin, I think the things that our feelings are so valid. The anger, the
Yeah.
frustration, everything like that.
It's
Um,
it's
wh-
actually
yeah, what would you
so
call it? Is there a term?
yeah, there's a term, and a lot of this feeling that we discuss is there's a term called war anxiety, based on a paper from Harvard. War anxiety, sometimes also known as nuclear anxiety, is a very
Okay.
common reaction to news and images about conflict that we feel. All these negative emotions that we feel when we are watching the news about, killing, about war, images of it, as especially, of course. And then there's a lot of research on it as well. For example, in a poll from American Psychology Association, 80% of respondents reported significant stress as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, for example. And then there's another research also shows that even short exposure to bad news can lead to increased levels of worry and anxiety that can be long lasting. And bad news can also invoke a negative thinking, which can lead to feeling caught in a loop of distress. And then witnessing the suffering of others can actually cause us to feel pain. Seeing personal stories shared on social media makes us feel more connected to people than statistics about casualties might, which that also increase
Sure.
as I'm saying, increase our empathy further as well too. But
Right.
yes, so all this
Yeah.
research also shows that consuming all these informations, news, images, cause a lot of distress in all of us. No
Yeah.
matter how much we want to acknowledge it, it is there in us. And
Yeah.
it is important for us to address it for sure.
Right. Right. I mean, I don't know that we as human beings are capable of consuming everything that we consume on a daily basis. If it's not all the negative things that are happening globally, it's people's thoughts, like people's comments on social media that are awful, or they're dismissive, or completely hateful.
I think
Yeah.
we are trapped in this cycle of consumption of information. Is also
Yeah.
addictive. Like all this,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
social media, are designed to make us addicted to this. Like this couple seconds of TikTok videos just keeps us scrolling. And
Yep.
then, especially later, we're gonna talk about a research about news nowadays is created to entertain, not necessarily to tell facts. They're gonna exaggerate things. They're gonna twist
To
thing a
fit your
little bit.
narrative.
Yeah,
Yeah. Stroke your ego, your belief system, however you want.
yeah, they're there
Yeah.
to entertain rather than news,
Right. Facts.
and
Yeah.
which all this entertainment, all this exaggeration keeps people worrying in these cycles of worrying and distress and anxiety. And but that's how media nowadays is.
Yeah.
We should be cautious of how
Very.
much
Yes.
of our time should devote to this, and how critical we should be when we consume a piece of information. We can talk about that later, which we
Yeah.
will definitely
Right.
talk about that later. I'm gonna offer some
Uh,
well-researched tips that will be,
yes.
yeah.
We're
But
here
before
for
we get
you.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think before we get to that, I think with all this conflict going on, I think it's important for us not just feel them. Now that we feel all this distress, we know that they are there. What can we do with them? Is there anything we can do to help, to support?
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of ways. This was my portion of the podcast to research. And so again, all these links we will link on our website, canadiansalad.ca. The first I would love to recommend, I signed it today. It's Sign the Petition to the House of Commons. There's a initiative that is a petition to call for a ceasefire in
Yeah.
Gaza. So
I
you
signed it a while ago as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
So you sign it, it goes off to the House of Commons, and it shows your citizenship or your residency, interest, and voice into
Yeah.
calling for a ceasefire. Write an email or letter to your MP. Okay, so again, on ourcommons.ca, we'll link the resource, but you can find who your MP is based on the province and where you live. And you click on their picture. It's got everything from their phone number to their email address to where their office is located. Everyone, this is a great resource if you really want to express your concerns and your voice and call for ceasefire. I have a friend who every week was, since October, when the first bad news came through regarding Palestine, but he wrote a letter to his MP every single week saying,
Wow.
this is what I want. I want a ceasefire. Please, I voted for you. I believe in what your cause and what you're doing. And when he saw that a letter from his MP had been written to the House of Commons and to Parliament and to Justin Trudeau, he wept because he knew that he had the ability to speak his voice and influence political people. So it does work. Please do not disbelieve in that effort.
Yeah, all of us should do this. Yes.
Yes.
Text them, call them, email them, all the
Be
method
unrelentless every day,
Yes.
morning and evening. Like, this is a great way to take all of that energy, that sense of being overwhelmed and that
The
sense
frustration, that
of the
anger.
frustration, the anger, and just put it into action, because that
Yes.
energy does have to go somewhere. It's good energy. It just has to be channeled in a healthy way. And I think voicing your concerns is a very healthy way to do that. The third thing is you can donate to places like UNICEF. There's a humanitarian coalition. Canadian government is matching donations up to $10 million right now. So, which is honestly a drop in the bucket with how much it's going to take to repair everything, but we will take what we can get, right? So
yes,
if you donate, you can do it through online, and these organizations are trying to funnel water, food, medicine, whatever it is, into Gaza. The fourth thing would be to participate, volunteer in local demonstrations, rallies, or protests. So I went this previous Sunday, to a protest at the Legislative Building. And I will say, most of you know I'm from the States, and I don't have a very high opinion of our government or what we've done historically. But I saw videos coming out of Washington, D.C. Over 10,000 people showed up to call for a ceasefire. And it was the first time in a really long time I was proud to be an American, because I knew that the voice of the people was going to be loud and strong. And it was that demonstration that I said, this is what makes me an American, is our voice and our ability to challenge authorities and to speak truth to power. So it is something that you can do. You can find communities there that, I've been to these. It's all about taking care of one another. Like the one rally I went to in Victoria, they had refreshments. They had coffee and tea and, some cookies, because at the very beginning, they're like, we've got to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other. And that is completely what we need to do. So participate or volunteer. If people need signs, if they need social media help, whatever it is, there's opportunities that you can do. The fifth thing I would say is reach out to Palestinian communities in Canada. We're going to include a link. It's the Canadian Palestinian Organizations Coalition. And there are a list of the certain organizations within Canada that exist, and you can reach out. You can, even if it's donating to these centers, because I'm sure they're going to need resources to help people who are really struggling. And they probably have family members who need money, who need resources coming to them directly. So I would say do that. And then I think we'll talk more about this, but I think really is understand that once you've done what you can do, have grace with yourself and understand that even a letter, even showing up to a protest, that is good, and that is enough to show up and
Yeah.
to take action.
Or
It
even
really
just,
is.
yeah, even just
Yeah.
one social media post that to show your support.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes action can be
Yeah.
small, but they're not meaningless.
No, no.
Yeah.
If one raindrop doesn't make a difference, but
Yeah.
millions of them do, and so we can make a storm of change with each of our drops, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, show up at your protests, keep talking about Palestinians
Mm-hmm.
and the war in Gaza. We should keep the conversation, same as all the other conflicts in the world that you have
Right.
took interest in or have knowledge on. We should
Exactly.
keep it going, keep the conversation going. If so, keep everyone informed,
Yes.
and
And
because
if
you never
you,
know.
yeah,
Because you never know
yeah,
who you can reach out to and then inspire some other people to do more stuff and to support.
exactly. Also, I would say two more things to that list: centering the oppressed, center those who are caught in the crossfire, the innocent people, center their voices.
Yeah.
Let the innocent voices be the narrative that shapes
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
because again, they are the ones who are there. This is a quote by Dante Stewart. He is an incredible person. He's written a few books. He's out of the States, but he said this: people who have been harmed by oppression and hatred have the right to be loud and angry.
Yeah.
They have that right. So let's listen and let's let that be the center of our narratives. And then the last thing, I think we alluded to this too a little bit, but have those conversations. If you have the capacity to have those conversations with family members and friends. I have a friend in the States, and she sees very differently than I do regarding the conflict. And while I do get very frustrated, I also love her. And I also love the fact that she's willing to engage in this conversation with me. However hard it might be for both of us, we're
Mm-hmm,
still
mm-hmm.
having the conversation. Keep having the conversation. People don't change overnight. So, like you said, keep every amount of effort, every little bit will have a difference. That is where our hope lies
Exactly. Yeah.
in one another. Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, that does not only applies and this, the war in Gaza, that applies to any other conflict as well.
Exactly.
The
Mm-hmm.
war still going on in Ukraine as well. There's so many
Yeah.
things still happening. So we have to keep it going, keep the
Yes. Mm-hmm.
conversation going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Ocean, I'm wondering, do you have anything to recommend how we could take care of ourselves and each other in this time for all the conflicts that are happening globally, and especially the ones that are coming through our newsfeed on a daily basis?
Um, yes, I think on top of do what we can to support, no matter you're signing the petition or emailing your MP and everything, I think it's important to also take care of ourselves because, as we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, this war anxiety is very common and is a thing that happens to a lot of us. It might affect
Yeah.
you in ways that you might not realize, but research has shown that it has long-lasting effects to a lot of us. So I think we need to definitely take care of us at this fight as well, because this is also a fight for us. This is a fight for humanity.
Yes.
So we need to make sure we have the capacity to fight, the mental and physical capacity to do so in the long run.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do have some recommendations to how we can take care of ourselves. First, definitely to acknowledge that feeling. Trying to rationalize or dismiss emotions never actually makes anything go away. So we have to
No, it
sit,
doesn't.
we have to sit with ourselves to see how we feel when at the end of the day, after we consume so much
Yeah.
of these informations or after a protest, we have to check in with ourselves,
Yeah.
and then we have to acknowledge and accept our feelings without judgment. First step that can help us to improve our mental health, because then we can relieve that burden of denying negative feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, it's really helpful sometimes I learned that in therapy to write down what you feel, because it helps you
Mm-hmm.
to sort out whatever feelings you
Yeah.
have. Or sometimes talk to a friend, just get that out of your mind, getting into
Yeah.
words, getting into paper. This research shows that speaking silent thoughts also helps to disrupt the stress cycle, and it
Oh, okay.
have long-term benefits.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
it will help us to manage stress better. So that's definitely first thing.
That's
And a
good.
second thing I would recommend is to limit your media exposure. Roxanne Cohen-Silver, a professor of psychology who studies stress and coping at the University of California, and her research has shown that repeated news exposure creates stress and prolonged symptoms of post-traumatic stress or even physical health problems. So we have to be careful how much of this negative news that we're exposed to. And based on her research, she also realized that words had less negative effects than, for example, image. So she also recommended to try to avoid graphic images. It's definitely less restricting to read or listen to reports rather than watching disturbing images on TV or social media. So if you do want to keep yourself informed and see what's happening, it's better to read or listen than to actually consume images.
Yeah. Which, to that point, trauma is something I've heard it defined as trauma is anything that is too quickly introduced into the nervous system.
Yes.
So anything that comes in barging through, horses blazing, and you're caught off guard, that can be traumatic for you. It may not be traumatic for someone else. So I think, to that point, don't compare yourself and your ability to watch images or videos or things like that. Someone else might have a healthy balance to do that.
Yes.
Listen to your body and understand what you need and what is actually really going to upset or trigger you, and follow that. Don't say, well, I should be just as strong or I should be just as able as anyone else to see this. It's, no. If you want to truly make a difference, you got to keep yourself healthy and alive.
Exactly. That's the first thing. If you're not alive, you're not healthy. If you're too distressed
You can't do
to
anything.
say anything, you can't do anything. You have no ability to support, to help, to fight. So it is important to talk about self-care, especially in times of crisis.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep that capacity to do anything.
Absolutely.
Keep yourself healthy. And the third thing I want to recommend also, especially talking about avoiding disturbing images, we need to also find, if you really do want to seek some news, go to credible sources. This book called The Catastrophic Warrior by Graham Davey, which is a professor of psychology at the University of Sussex in England. He specifically talked about, and I quote, "News is incredibly harnessed for the purpose of spectacle and entertainment." A lot of news on TV specifically too, that always like to choose the most dramatic, most traumatic images so they can create a spectacle and entertainment.
Ratings.
Yeah, exactly. So
Ratings,
watching news is not necessarily just for the credibility of how accurate the information is, also is what the image they choose to show you. Because again, they usually chose the most dramatic one, obviously. It just creates a little bit more of stress to you than just reading it. So in his book, he recommends to avoid like 24-hour news, to have to keep it going, have to definitely create a lot of dramatic things and keep you entertained. Instead, try to read long forms articles, journals, in-depth commentaries, because it keeps you informed in many other ways too, because commentaries, it also tells you conflicts and histories and perspectives, all of that. And reading, as mentioned by research, is less traumatic to our brain, to our nerve system. Yes, so definitely do that. And there's a lot of credible source. Like for example, I usually like to go to Guardian for information. Find them very credible in many ways, and a lot of in-depth commentaries.
Al Jazeera is a good one. It
Yeah.
gives you a good global perspective. Sometimes if you're looking for a non-Western narrative, which is important, I think, really important. But there are plenty out there. That's a good point.
Yeah, and then I think we need to also make time for ourselves. When you take a break, go for a walk, have a conversation with friends, watch TV, have a cup of tea, that just do something that is self-care. Pet your cat.
Buy a stuffed animal. Like what ask yourself, what do you want or what do you need?
Do something to make yourself happy and take yourself out a little bit of these storms of war that's happening outside. And the last thing I definitely would recommend is to cultivate compassion. I think that is very important, because as we mentioned, a lot of atrocities happening, and consider so
Yeah.
much of it can definitely make us feel numb of what's happening out there, murder, killing. And I think it's especially in times like this that we need to remind ourselves the kindness that's around us, the friends that reach out to you, the partner that wanted to give you a hug, the colleagues that just say good morning to you, all this little kindness around us. We need to cultivate that to keep us kind, keep us sane in many ways.
Yeah. Keep our humanity alive, and reminding us that part of your humanity is grieving, but it's also having hope. I think sometimes hope can be gaslighting a situation. Like it
But
can
it
sometimes, I
it
mean,
really
I will
is.
say, it can be when, oh, don't give up, it's all going to work out. I think there's a place where that's very distasteful, and it's not the right time to say,
Yeah.
there's hope. But I also think that having hope in kindness and in the goodness of people, it's what our children deserve. It's what those children deserve in war-torn countries. It's what the innocent deserve. They deserve our capacity to pursue hope, because the minute we think something is hopeless, we don't work for anything.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
won't. Climate change is one of those huge things that for me, I'm just like, we're doomed. We're doomed every day. We're just doomed, doom, 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 doom. And then there's some great news articles that come out, and they're like, oh, the Amazon forest has decided that they're no longer going to allow logging in the forest. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So we need those positive things about our humanity
Yeah.
to stay within our bodies and to stay within our state of mind, because that allows us to continue fighting for and pressing forward for change.
Exactly. I think this kindness also remind us this world or humanity is not doomed.
Yes.
There's people who make efforts for you, or
Yeah.
you can be that person who make time for
Exactly.
others, because you are signing that petition, you are emailing the MP, you are posting that social media, you are going to that rally. So you can be that example of kindness as well. And you also need to appreciate the effort that you are giving, the time that you are giving to be compassionate to what's happening. So you also have to give a pat on your back to motivate yourself to keep going as well.
Because that is stronger and better than the evil that we see happening right now.
Exactly.
That's what makes us better than beasts. That's what makes us better than robots, is that we are doing more to have compassion and to be a thread of light and of justice and of truth and of reconciliation. And I know that being overwhelmed and feeling hopeless it's a valid feeling, not to shame anyone for feeling those things, because it is, but don't set up your tent there. Don't make your home in that hopelessness. You visit for a bit, you acknowledge it, you sit with it, and then you move forward and say, what can I do? How can we make things different? Right?
Yes, exactly. Do not just accept it. No, don't ever. Because we are better than this. We are better than this. We have to believe we're better than this. Humanities are better than this. Because if we just sit with that tended there's no hope for any of us.
No, not at
no
all.
hope for your kids. No.
And
so
they deserve all of our hope. They deserve all of our action and our advocacy and our voices and our shared love for each other and for ourselves.
Exactly. And our care for each other, for sure. We have to care for each other.
Yeah, we
Not
do.
just people next to you, but also people that suffer in Gaza, people suffering in Ukraine, in Yemen, in Congo. All of these people needs your support as well. Needs your compassion.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm just thankful, Hostion, to process this with you. I think when we decided to do this, I, of course, was like, yes, we do need to do this. I've been wanting to do something, just didn't know what to do per se. And when you said, I think we just need to process what's happening and use this platform to echo words of compassion and self-care and love for one another. I'm really, really thankful I could do this with you. And this is part of the healing too. And part of the hope is knowing that we have this ability for this podcast. And we would love to hear from you out there if you have other ways that you've seen hope come through, if there's things that you've done in your community or that you've voiced to your MP for positive change. Let us hear it. Share it with us on our Instagram. Send us an email, canadiansaladpodcast@gmail.com. We're all in this together, and we just want everyone to know that we really want to share all of the grief that's going on right now in the world.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you, Andrea, for jump on this boat wagon. I don't know how they call it these days, but jump on this podcast to just with me, because I think at the end of the day is our compassion that gonna shine through, and that's one of the reasons I want to do this too, because we have to emphasize that that is the one thing that can help us through this. Yeah, and yeah, I just want to process this with you, and sometimes also a selfish reason, because I also need space to get it out of my chest, to have someone to listen and someone to feel this and sit with me. So thank you as well, and everyone who listens as well. And to listen to us being vulnerable and talking maybe sometimes even nonsense. But we are grateful. We really are. We are.
And we love all of you listening, and we love the whole world, and that's why Canadian Salad exists.
That's why we doing this with no money, with our busy life, and still committed time to do this, not for anything, but for compassion in many ways.
Exactly. So thank you for listening. We most likely will return to regular programming for our next episode, but stay tuned. We want to be sensitive with the time and read the room, right? We want to make sure that we're mindful of what's going on and we're not turning a blind eye. So thank you for listening, and we do hope you found this encouraging. And please do go to the website, canadiansalad.ca, for some resources regarding self-care and
what you can do.
Exactly. And all of those links that Hostion and I mentioned, we will post and make those accessible. So take care of yourself, take care of one another. Be kind and be safe.
Yes, be kind to everyone and be safe for sure. Okay, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hostion and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Janklin production.